Welcome to the YCN Game of the Week, coming to you from North Sutton, New Hampshire, as the Kearsarge Cougars host the Fall Mountain Wildcats. Game of the Week is brought to you by La Valley Building Supplies, home improvement and construction from concept to completion. HR Clough, the home energy specialist, and Kearsarge Heating Oils. And Kasasa, free checking that pays. Ask for Kasasa checking at Claremont Savings Bank.
Good evening.
Game of the Week is brought to you by La Valley Building Supplies, home improvement and construction from concept to completion. HR Clough, the home energy specialist, and Kearsarge Heating Oils. And Kasasa, free checking that pays. Ask for Kasasa checking at Claremont Savings Bank.
I'm Jeremy Stout, joined by Andrew Zurheide, and we are here for Division III football matchup between the Cougars of Kearsarge and Fall Mountain High School. And Andrew, going into this game, Kearsarge losing their opening game at Newport, coming back with a big win last week. Justin Norris, big guy, he's going to be the lead, the focal point of this Kearsarge Cougar offense.
Yeah, Justin Norris leading the state right now in rushing yards. He's really been a force for this Kearsarge team, and especially since the Cougars have lost their two starting quarterbacks, the first string and the second string. So expect Norris to be given the ball a lot tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have a big part of it, and a couple guys, maybe Fall Mountain. They're going to try and get a few guys in the mix. They don't have one guy who stands out completely.
Right, and the Fall Mountain quarterback, Jacob Shoemaker, look for him to make some plays, and their running back, Krish Bashaw. Those are the two guys that will really stand out on the Fall Mountain offense.
All right, so we've got the Fall Mountain Wildcats and the Kearsarge Cougars kickoff when we come back. Welcome back to North Sutton, New Hampshire. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zurheide here as the Cougars of Kearsarge take on the Fall Mountain Wildcats. Kearsarge electing to kick off to start the first half. Andrew, a chilly night under clear skies, 61 degrees. It's going to get a little cooler than that. We got some fall football action.
We do, and here's the kickoff.
Fielded at the 20, not quite fielded, but then it's picked up, and a nice little run forward through the hole.
Kyle Hernan there with the tackle from the Kearsarge Cougars.
JT Gibbs on the return. He gets it back to the Wildcat 33, it looks like. They'll spot the ball. And that'll bring up 1st and 10 as we're underway on the Game of the Week. Cougars coming off a nice win, as we mentioned in the opening, falling behind 21-0, but able to rally for a big win last week.
Yeah, big win at Franklin. They eventually won 47-34, so they overcame that deficit big time.
And the Wildcats of Fall Mountain have had some unfortunate luck so far in this season, losing a close one last week.
Yeah, they lost by 4 points at home versus Raymond, 14-18.
Jacob Shoemaker under center. He'll pitch out to the outside. Number 22 with the carry, Chris Bashaw. Bashaw gets to the outside, and a nice little gain to start the game.
Yeah, that was a nice little pitch out. Picked up about maybe 7 on that play.
A little slow to reset the scoreboard. It is going to be second down and a long 2, maybe 3. Jacob Shoemaker, the sophomore under center. Again, 3 men in the backfield. He'll give it to the quick hitter right up the gut is Simmons.
Nowhere to go there. Kearsarge defense looking strong on that play.
Great defensive stop, and that'll bring up 3rd and short for the Wildcats, their first possession. They are driving towards the scoreboard end zone here in North Sutton. Lights brightly on. Shoemaker under center. 3 men behind him. He'll keep it, take the sneak.
Ooh.
And he gets over the pile. Did he get the first down? We'll have to see.
Very close. And they got it.
And you got to like what you see so far in the early going, only 3 plays, but Fall Mountain's going to stay in this game. They need to control the ground game. They need to control the clock, not turn the ball over, and that's what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. A few running plays there, doing a nice job of getting the first down. You know, I know it's just 3rd and inches, but nothing's guaranteed on 3rd down.
Nice offensive line there, pushing the pile forward, and Shoemaker easily gets it, so that'll bring up 1st and 10 from the 44. 3 in the backfield. Shoemaker fakes the handoff, and then he gives it to the up back. And once again, that is Bayshaw.
Number 22, Chris Bashaw on the carry. 2nd down.
Bayshaw getting a couple yards there. Let's see if they'll get the ball back here on 2nd and 8.
And we saw a lot of this last week with the Hanover team where they were running the ball and even Merrimack Valley running it, and that's what you see a lot in college football. They're going to keep it on the ground.
Yeah, not a lot of passes here, high school football.
Shoemaker with the pitch to the outside. Has some daylight on the outside is Gibbs. He breaks a tackle. Ooh. And then after the whistle, hard little hit, but yes, the refs just thought it was a continuation of the play. That looked a little bit extracurricular.
Yeah, it looked a little rough there. Kearsarge, couple of Kearsarge defenders really pushing Fall Mountain player way back, about 10 yards from where he was originally tackled.
Right, exactly. It wasn't as if the play was continuing. They pedaled him backward, but I guess they thought maybe some acting on the part of Fall Mountain.
Right.
Either way, we'll take a timeout here as we have a timeout on the field. Fall Mountain takes the first timeout with 9:29 to go. Fall Mountain driving here, no score. You're watching the YCN Game of the Week. Welcome back to the YCN Game of the Week. Kearsarge Cougars, Fall Mountain Wildcats underway here in the first quarter.
The YCN Game of the Week and Saturday YCN Live College Game Day is brought to you by H.R. Clough, the home energy specialist, and LaValle Building Supply. Thank them for making this coverage possible.
Hand off to the second man this time for the Wildcats. Using the decoy, and the second man is Bashaw. He will get the carry and just a bit short of the first down.
Bashaw on the carry.
So Bashaw the man so far, along with J.T. Gibbs on the outside. Clearly, Fall Mountain says we're going to run it.
4th down, they're going to go for it.
I think it's a good decision here. 4th and a long one. QB sneak there.
Ooh.
Gets over the pile is Shoemaker. We'll see where the spot is.
It's going to be close. Looked a little short. Yep. Ball's turned over. Turnover on downs.
Wow, what a big play. But you got to give credit to Fall Mountain moving the ball from their own 34-yard line across midfield on the first possession. In that situation in high school football, there's no sense in snapping, and I think that's a good decision in the early going.
Right, and that ball, I mean, that was in the middle of the field. You know, since they did give it up, the Cougars, they're not exactly on the opposite side of the field. They're still in the middle. Still got a ways to go.
Right, it's not a terrible field position to start in. So we'll see a lot of this guy right here. Justin Norris gets the direct snap, cuts to the left side, and he's going to break a few tackles. He's off to the races. The 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Justin Norris, first offensive possession of the game for the Cougars, and that's going to be 54-yard touchdown run for Norris.
Wow, and you could tell once he got to the outside after a nice block, he was gone. He made a couple of nice moves to get around some Wildcat defenders, but once he had that lane, he never looked back and took off.
So Justin Norris with the touchdown in the early going, giving the Cougars the 6-0 lead. Extra point pending here. We'll see if they line up. They will line up to get the direct snap and go for 2 points. And this one is going to be converted easily. Number 11, Emerson Tyler, the sophomore, gets the 2-point conversion. So the Cougars up early, 8-0 here in North Sutton. 7:40 to go in the first quarter. We'll take a quick timeout break. We'll be right back. Kearsarge will be kicking off on the YCN Game of the Week. Welcome back to the YCN Game of the Week. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide here in North Sutton, New Hampshire, where the Cougars have just taken the early lead, 8-0 on a 54-yard touchdown run by Justin Norris. 2-point conversion converted by Emerson Tyler on the jet sweep to the left side of the end zone. And now the kickoff for the Cougars, a short one, almost a squib kick, takes a couple bounces, and it's fielded at the 28-yard line by the Wildcats. They don't get much. But they'll take over at their own 30-yard line.
Hey, local sports fans, the new YCN Sports Talk, co-hosted by Jeremy Stout and Dave Collins, is every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. And 94.5 ESPN Radio's Franklin and House Sports Talk Show is on YCN every weekday evening at 6 p.m. YCN, your local view.
So the Fall Mountain Wildcats will take possession for the second time tonight. Not bad field position. We'll see a lot of three men in the backfield. Shoemaker will take the snap, and he'll go down almost immediately in the backfield.
Yeah, it looked like he got tripped up, maybe by himself or maybe from one of his own players. But
yeah,
I don't think the Cougars touched him.
Right, might have tripped over one of the offensive linemen's feet, and that's the scary part about a lot of run plays, and you've got a lot going on. If you try and go too fast to get it to one of those guys, you see some mistakes there. But this Fall Mountain team is a young team, and Kearsarge hasn't seen them. They haven't seen Kearsarge in, I think it's 5-6 years, so we'll see what Fall Mountain can come up with. And Shoemaker will drop back to pass for the first time tonight. Ooh. Nice little outlet pass just off the hands of J.T. Gibbs.
Yeah, good effort there by Gibbs, laying out full to make that catch, but just out of his reach.
So that'll bring up third down, and it looks like about 13 yards after the first sack of the night, even though won't be credited to any individual on that first down. He'll get a team sack as the quarterback kind of tripped over the feet of his lineman. So third down and 13. You've got to imagine Shoemaker will be dropping back to throw. He's got a couple wide receivers on the near side. Drops back. He will be throwing. Rolls out to his right. Tosses it to where Gibbs was trying to get to. Gibbs couldn't quite get there in time. Throw stayed in bounds, but incomplete. So that'll bring up fourth down, and Andrew, I'd imagine that Fall Mountain will be punting this time.
Right, I mean, 4th and 13. There's little chance you're going to convert on that one, so they got to be punting here.
Andrew backed up inside your own 30-yard line, so right. It's a double-edged sword. You cannot even try anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what the Wildcats come out with here on fourth down, and they will be in the punt formation. Cole Simmons to take the snap. And to return it deep is get a number. And the snap was off a little bit, but Simmons does get it away. It's fielded at the 46-yard line of the Cougars.
Oh.
And a couple broken tackles on the right side, and the Cougars are going to go all the way for the touchdown. Punt return, touchdown. That's Justin Norris.
Yeah, guess who? Norris again. Wow.
And I couldn't tell on the when he was lining up, I couldn't tell exactly who it was. Let's take a quick look at that as he fields it just about the 46-yard line, and he'll get a 54-yard punt return. Breaks a couple tackles, and he is off to the races. And as we talked about in the early going, everything we talked about is for real. This kid is something special.
Yeah, he is. You can see his athleticism. He's strong, not terribly tall, but he knows how to run and make tacklers miss.
So Norris with the second touchdown of the night. Once again, they'll go for two, and easily scampers into the end zone is number 34, the senior Bryce Brown. And the Cougars double their lead to 16 with 5:22 to go here in the first quarter. We'll take a quick break and come right back. You're watching the YCN Game of the Week. Welcome back to the YCN Game of the Week. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide, Kearsarge Cougars kicking off to the Fall Mountain Wildcats. Nice kick is away. Fielded at the 20 by the Wildcats, and a nice little run back up the middle. He's got some daylight, and that's a nice run back by Cole Simmons, the punter. He's also the up man in the kickoffs. He's able to get that back to the 44-yard line.
Yeah, let's see if that return can spark a little life into the Wildcats.
Yeah, their best field position of the day, of the evening. It's 5:09 to go here in the first quarter. Kearsarge leading 16-0. Fall Mountain turning it over on downs, their first possession, then punting on their second. But a good start here, and a couple of fakes. Shoemaker will roll out to his right, finds the man, Simmons. A nice run, a couple spin moves, and he's got some distance on that one. A nice job there by Simmons, making a couple tacklers miss.
Yeah, very impressive there. Made a nice catch. Did a spin move, got some extra yards. Now it looks like the Wildcats are on about the 30-yard line.
Cole Simons, I apologize. Helped out by the coaching staff here in the booth. So Cole Simons with a nice run there. And as you mentioned, puts them on the correct side of the field and be the fake handoff pitch back, which is going to be fumbled by JT Gibbs. And after a nice little run play, or excuse me, pass play, Fall Mountain getting a little trickery going, didn't quite work.
Yeah, getting a little too fancy there. Really losing some momentum after that nice pass. Now they're back. Looks about second down and 20.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have to get to the 20-yard line for the first down, and they are currently at the 41-42 of Kearsarge. So, yeah, second and 20 plus. Shoemaker drops back. He'll heave it up to nobody, and it's intercepted by the Cougars. On the right side is tackled the Cougar defender after intercepting it. Trying to get a look and see who intercepted that one.
Interception number 27, Brody Messer. Cougars, first down.
Brody Messer with the interception. And the Wildcats turn the ball over. And after such a successful start to that drive with a nice pass play, then they go trickery, they lose 12 yards. And then they just throw it up to nobody, really. He did have one man. Shoemaker did have a man, but Kearsarge had two defenders, and the ball was lofted up there. No chance.
Yeah, that ball really seemed to float in the air for a long time. Easy pick for the Cougars.
It's going to come all the way back, but the interception will count. So Kearsarge will keep the ball, but it's going to come back to their own 29-yard line. Well, they'll start their offensive possession, their second offensive possession. One was a punt return for a touchdown, so the second offensive possession, 3:40 to go here in the first quarter. Little movement on the line, and I think it's going to be a false start by the Cougars.
Yeah, it looked like David Benjamin got a little too anxious there. And he knows it. He knows it.
Yeah, and it's hard not to get anxious when you've got the offensive weapon that the Cougars have in Justin Norris. You know you have to block the side. He's coming behind you, and you want to get out there and block your man, and a little too aggressive.
Right, yeah, you could tell he wanted to hit somebody, really make a hole for Norris.
So it'll back them up 5 yards, bring up first and 15. They have to get to the 39-yard line for the first down. Kearsarge does not really make many surprises. They line up the way they line up. They snap to Norris, and they say, stop us if you can. And that time a nice stop by the Wildcats.
Yeah, the first time we've seen Norris tackled so far today.
Exactly, 53, Thomas Moses making the tackle. Just getting back to the line of scrimmage, and as you mentioned, first time we've seen him tackled, and uncharacteristic, but he can't break a gain every time.
Right.
So we'll bring up second and 10 now from the 30-yard line of the Cougars. Once again, direct snap to Norris. He'll fight off a couple of tacklers. He squirts to the outside, and he's got some daylight. Can he get to the corner before the defender? He gets there, shoves one defender.
He's still on his feet. Oh, and then
and he
down.
Just barely gets tackled before breaking free. So Norris looked like he had a little bit of blockers in front of him up the middle, but it didn't quite work out, so he punched it to the outside where he had more daylight and tackled just at the end by Chris Bashaw. That'll bring up another Kearsarge Cougar first down as the clock continues to tick. 2:30 to go in the first quarter. We'll have a timeout on the field. We'll take a quick break. You're watching the YCN Game of the Week. Welcome back to the YCN Game of the Week. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide here in North Sutton, New Hampshire, where the Cougars lead the Wildcats of Fall Mountain 16-0 with 2:32 to go in the first quarter.
Stay tuned at the end of our telecast for the H.R. Clough Kearsarge Heating Oil Turning Up the Heat Player of the Game, where we'll pick the top performer in tonight's game.
And I have an idea who is out to an early lead in that one.
I wonder who that could be.
Number 32, Justin Norris of the Cougars, with 2 early touchdowns, 54-yard touchdown run and a 54-yard punt return for a touchdown. The snap goes to 34 this time. We'll hand it off to Emerson Tyler, who breaks free, and that's an easy touchdown run up the middle by Emerson Tyler.
Yeah, nice job by Tyler there, filling in for Norris as he's on the sideline getting a breather. And the Cougars taking a commanding lead early in this one.
Feels like deja vu, just different colors on the field, a lot like last week's game where Hanover was up early and they scored often. Commanding lead they never relinquished. And now the Cougars up 22-0, going for the 2-point conversion, and that'll be direct snapped off tackle. Run by number 34, Bryce Brown.
Number 34, Bryce Brown on the carry.
So the Cougars going up 24-0. Kearsarge looking like they are in charge. And as we take a look at the standings here, only a couple games obviously have happened so far this season. We mentioned 1-1 for Kearsarge. Couple games behind Interlakes, Moultonborough, Monadnock, and Newport, and Stevens all 2-0. And then Fall Mountain 0-2, tied with Newfound for the bottom of the North Division. Big game here for Kearsarge, dropping down a division based on numbers and how the school looks at things. But it looks like they found a home here in Division 3, and they should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, if this game's any indication of that, 24-0 here in the first quarter.
Kearsarge kicking it off. Couple bounces, and it'll be fielded at the 25 by the Wildcats. Run out of bounds after a 10-12 return. And the fact that in the first game of the season, Kearsarge only lost on the road by a touchdown to a Newport Tigers team who we were talking earlier. They've lost 1 or 2 games, I think, in the last 2 years.
Right, yeah, they were staying with Newport the entire way. And as you said, only losing by a touchdown. I think that just goes to tell you how good this Kearsarge team is this year.
Losing a quarterback in that game, losing a linebacker in that game. Now it looks like they've kind of found their way. So Fall Mountain will take over again here. Pitch to the outside. No room to run for Bashaw. And he will be tackled.
Number 64, Trevor McConnell on the tackle.
And that was Trevor McConnell there, doing a nice job getting around the blocker, making the tackle. Great stop there by the Cougars.
Yeah, nice stop there. 3-yard loss for the Wildcats. So they're going to try and do something here. They had some success last drive on the run and the pass until they got a little too cute. And there's the other handoff right up the middle to Simons. And he's hit initially, and then it takes 4 Cougar defenders to wrap him up and slow him down.
Yeah, you can tell Simons is really the Wildcats' workhorse here tonight. He's a big guy, makes a lot of tacklers miss, and he's hobbling a little bit coming off the field. I'm sure he'll be right back in it, though.
So they get the yards back plus a few more, and it'll bring up about 3rd and 6 from the Wildcat 39 as the clock continues to tick. Inside 1 minute here in the first quarter. Cougars leading 24-0 over the Fall Mountain Wildcats. Shoemaker under center, 2 men in the backfield. He'll hold on to it, rolls out, doesn't see the defender, throws it away, and it's intercepted.
Wow.
By number 34, Bryce Brown. He didn't even see Scott Matthews coming from the blind side. Did not have a chance. Shoemaker throws the interception to Brown. And that's returned for the 37-yard interception returned by Bryce Brown.
Yeah, you could see Matthews there coming out from the side, and the quarterback clearly no idea it was coming. Throws a interception. Nice job there by Brown, reading the play, seeing the ball, and running it back for the TD.
So with 40 seconds to go, Cougars up 4 scores. Now they will kick the extra point. The kicker for the Cougars, number 39, Noah Cooper. He makes the extra point. Good. And that'll give the Cougars the 31-0 lead. 40 seconds to go here in the first quarter. We'll step aside. We'll come right back. You're watching the YCN Game of the Week. Welcome back to the YCN Game of the Week. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide here in North Sutton, New Hampshire, where the Cougars have a commanding 31-0 lead over the Wildcats of Fall Mountain. 40 seconds to go in the first quarter. Kick is up and away, a short kick to the 20-yard line, fielded by the Wildcats. Try and get something out of this return. Smothered at the 35-yard line are the Wildcats, and that's where they'll start their next offensive possession.
Our replays are brought to you by Kasasa, a catchy word for earning cash. Ask for free Kasasa checking at Claremont Savings Bank. Qualifications and rules apply. See them for details. Member FDIC.
So the Wildcats taking over here after the kickoff at their own 35-yard line, not quite to the 36. 28 seconds to go. Fall Mountain with a couple receivers split out to the right. 2 men in the backfield.
Oh.
The pitch goes to the deep man. It's fumbled, and the Wildcats are able to pounce on it before the Cougars, so they will retain possession. But the ball will be back at the 18-yard line as time runs down here in the first quarter. That's going to do it for the first quarter from North Sutton, New Hampshire, where the Cougars lead the Wildcats 31-0. We'll step aside, take a quick TV timeout. We'll be right back. You're watching the YCN Game of the Week.